once again, welcome to Witchy Wednesdays, that one. This is Maria Shell, and today my special guest speaker is Tamara. Tamara is the Reverend and High Priestess of the Temple of Roses in Dayton, Ohio, and also the Coven of Roses, which is an international coven online. She's been offering many wonderful tips, tricks, and bits of wisdom through both the local page as well as the international one. Currently, she is teaching a series on tarot reading. So if anyone is interested in that, we are going to drop some links in here after the broadcast is over, and you guys will be able to click on that and check out what she's offering through her pages. But meanwhile, welcome, Tamara. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing very well. How are you, Maria?
Oh, just dandy. Wednesdays are always my day off to focus on my witchy work. So I've been getting a lot done this morning. All right. So first of all, why don't you give a little introduction of yourself and who you are, what your background is, and tell us a little bit about how you found your feet on the pagan path.
Whew, that's a long story.
They usually are.
Right? Everybody's got a wonderful story about how they kind of like fell into paganism. I'm no different. First of all, I'm an ordained reverend. I have been practicing in the priesthood for about 10 years now. I think maybe a little bit over. And then I've been practicing witchcraft as a whole for about 25 years.
Yeah, wonderful.
So, I mean, I'm not a newbie, but at the same time, I'm no master. I still learn, especially from the people I teach.
Absolutely.
Let's see, where did it all begin? It all began in Barnes and Noble.
Okay.
I was cruising through the books in the New Age section, and I found a book called Wicca for Life by Raymond Buckland.
Ah, okay. All right.
And that was it. That was the turning point for me, because I read through that book, and it's like a breath of fresh air. It's like, oh, wow, other people believe the same way I do. Really? Oh, this is so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of people, when they have that aha moment, experience it as a deep sense of belonging finally, right?
Yes. And after I read the book in its entirety, like, I would go outside and I could feel the trees breathing, and I could feel the wind like touching my skin differently, and the sun, and just everything made sense. It was like a natural high.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, when we are able to actually tap into those elemental forces around us, our sensual experience of life becomes so much more juicy, don't you think?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well, like the steaks tasted better, the strawberries tasted better, like things started to smell better. Like it was like that come to Jesus, like aha moment, like you said.
Right, absolutely. So this was 25 years ago when you first found your feet on the path. How did you end up feeling or being called into a leadership role as you progressed in your journey? Did you ever receive any formal training?
I did a lot.
Oh, okay. Maybe you could talk about that a little bit.
Sure. I actually studied at Witch School, the Witch School International under Reverend Don Lewis.
Okay.
And I went through the 3 degrees in his program, and it's a wonderful program.
Yeah.
But he teaches from Correllian Wiccan tradition.
Yes.
So that's where most of my teaching comes from, but I have branched out over the years, and like I've gone into shamanism and different types of healing and like necromancy, mediumship, you name it, I've probably touched on it.
Right. Yeah. I think, if we with something long enough, we feel called into different areas of the general heading that we're under, right? To try and find our groove, if nothing else, which changes over time as we do. So I think, it's common that we start in sort of this fluffy bunny place, and then later have that desire to dive in and a little bit deeper into certain areas and see how that sits with and works for us as individual worshipers, right?
Absolutely.
Um,
Well,
I
and I was feeling called to help people is why I got into the actual priesthood part of it, and why I decided to take the degrees program in Reverend Don Lewis's school, is because I felt like just doing regular healing sessions with people wasn't my full capacity.
right. Can you
So
talk about the modalities of healing that you offer?
sure, I offer spiritual diagnosis. I have to be careful with my words because I am not
I
a
know.
counselor
I
and I
know,
am not
right?
a doctor. Spiritual diagnosis with divination practices. I can do tarot and oracle. I also work with runes and pendulums, but my forte is throwing bones.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And quite the bone thrower you are.
Thank you.
I will tell you that I actually know Don Lewis and his partner Ed.
Good.
And I'm glad to see that he is on a road to recovery right now. I've been following his little health journey here on Facebook, and it looks like he is responding well to the treatments he has been receiving and is getting back on his feet. So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
The two of them have been in community for a long time and do really solid work, both in the roles of education, training, and leadership, as well as community support and outreach. So,
Absolutely. I
yeah,
agree 100%.
I knew that you had been trained, but I didn't realize that Don and Ed that you were part of my people. Of course, I should have
Yep.
I should have known all
I'm
along.
part of your people.
I know. Yeah, and I've seen them, encountered them at in festival environments most often, since we don't live close to each other, right? Usually it's either in person at a festival or online during some
Yep.
online presentation. So yeah, but that's amazing and wonderful.
Don Lewis was
So
actually nice enough to guest star for one of our Yule cons in my international group.
oh
And he did a guest speaker spot for us. And it
oh,
was
that's
very
wonderful.
enlightening.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the two groups, about the international group as well as the local one, and exactly how is it that, or what is it that those groups offer to people by way of community, of outreach, of learning opportunities?
Okay. Well, first off, both of the groups are non-denominational, non-discriminatory. We
Wonderful,
are
as it should
all
be.
yeah, right. We
Yeah.
are all inclusive. We welcome people from all different kinds of paths. From, I think white lighters is still the term that they use for the far right hand path, and then the gray witches, and then the left hand path as well. We also welcome them.
Right.
So and shamans, heathens, Norse pagans, even I have, I think, a couple that practice either Santeria or voodoo. I cannot remember
Okay.
which.
Yeah, I actually know a priestess of the of Santa Muerte,
Yes.
who works through that tradition, and she's quite a powerful divination artist as well. Yeah,
Oh, I bet.
yeah,
Santa Muerte is powerful.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, both light and dark, I think people are under the impression sometimes that there's the light path or the dark path, right?
Not necessarily.
So many shades of gray in life, and in how we experience it and in how we respond to it and work with it, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Um,
Well, and it's all about intention. No matter
absolutely.
what you do in magic, it's all about intent.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think along the lines of non-denominational, having sort of an honest perspective of the fact that there are a multitude of ways in which we can praise Mother, Father, God, and to work with intention and purpose to connect with those energies and entities, right? All roads lead to Rome. So
Well, Maria, have I told you my diamond theory?
do tell.
Okay, so real quick, you picture yourself holding in your hand a baseball-sized diamond.
Absolutely.
I know, right?
Yeah. Drool.
I know. But picture yourself holding a baseball-sized diamond, and you look at it and you turn it different ways, and you can see the facets and you can see the cuts and how beautiful each one of them are and the rainbows that they create, and it's so beautiful. But the thing of it is that it's all pieces that are one big diamond.
Yes, absolutely. I love
That's
that.
religion to me.
Yeah, I love that. I love that a lot, actually. So we were talking a little bit about the both the international and the local temple. So is there what sorts of opportunities are you offering right now for people who would like to take advantage of the various courses and things that you're offering in both of those groups?
Okay. Let's see. In the international group, we usually use that group to teach courses, to answer questions. Every once in a while, people reach out to me privately for, more sensitive matters and things like that. But the temple group, which is the local group here in Dayton, Ohio,
Right.
I am offering an initiate program for
Oh, okay.
people to study directly under me for a year
Right.
and a day. And after the course is completed, they get a certificate that they can take to the Secretary of State and be ordained.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. That actually is amazing to hear. I know that one of the complaints across the board from people who are just putting their feet on the path is that it is difficult to find one-on-one or group membership, right?
Right.
Mentorship, excuse me. There seem to be a lot of people who want to associate positional importance to people who have had formal education and training, but not a lot of people in that space of judgment who are offering the very education and training that can move the needle for those people, right?
Right. Well, and I find a lot of people are turned away from asking for mentorship because we have this mindset, especially online, of, oh, well, I learned by myself, so you can do it too. And I don't necessarily think that's the wrong outlook, but I know how hard it was for me learning alone because, I mean, back when I was learning, we didn't have Facebook. Google wasn't a thing. We didn't have that. All we had was books, and trial and error. And I made some really stupid mistakes when I was younger, and I don't want anybody to go through that. If
Yes,
they have
ma'am.
questions, ask.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that we are given tools for a reason.
Yes, absolutely.
And to be in a space of denial over the fact that the internet is the most powerful spiritual tool that we have been given in 1,000 years or more, right? Maybe ever in the history of man. And it certainly has the potential to do both good as well as harm, right? But I also think that if we who are of the light are using those tools in a conscious and intentional way, that it can be a powerful tool for evolution and ascension.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Hey, Maria, I'm getting some feedback. Can everybody that's on the live with us, can you please mute your microphones?
I'm gonna
It's
double
down in the
check
left-hand corner
everybody
of your
here
screen.
real quick. I think maybe I've got everyone on mute now. I could hear it too a little bit.
Yeah.
All
Sorry,
right.
it's a little hard to hear you, and I want to make sure I hear every syllable.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's fine. Yeah, I've got everyone on mute now, so we should be good to go. All righty. So you're offering this mentorship and or training into initiation. Mary, you're all right, honey. Offering mentorship into initiation. How would one get more information about the different programs and events that you offer through either one of those portals?
Oh, we have a Facebook group.
Yay!
Yay! We have a Facebook group, and we also have a website. The website is kind of in conjunction with the Coven group, which is the international group.
Okay.
I know they're kind of wish-washed. But you can contact us through the Temple group, which is the Temple of Roses, and then it has a little dash and it says Dayton, Ohio. Or you can contact our initiate sponsor, whose name is Ashley. She's a very wonderful lady,
Yes.
and she can go ahead and get you started with application process and things of that nature.
Okay, wonderful. And we're going to drop all of those links into the comments so that you guys will be able to hop on and check out more information about the various programs. Take a look at the posts. I know that the Temple group is by invitation only.
It's not.
Oh, but I mean, you are, it's a private group, so
It is.
People have to request to join and fill out the 3 questions, right? And wait while they, yes, exactly. Fill out the questions, people. This is how we screen to make sure that we don't get nutballs and people who are clogging up the wheels, so to speak. But yeah, we, Tamara and I, in my own private group, are gatekeeping. And that is not a judgment thing. That is a preservation thing. So yeah, if you are interested in more information about Tamara's groups, submit a friend request, and she'll be on the other end to pick that up and let you into the group. And like I said, she's offering multiple posts a day on different topics related to magic and the practices of magic and magical tools, just free information by way of enriching the community. So
and I just wanted to say everybody is welcome to shoot me a PM at any time because I'm very responsive. So I'm there.
Yeah, no, I feel you. Mary has a question, but Mary, right at the end, when we're done with our interview, I'm going to answer all of the questions. So just hang in there a second and we will get to that. All righty. All righty. Let's see. Is there any, can you tell our audience about any sort of giant aha moment or something that impressed upon you that that magic was real, that it wasn't just a construct of people who were like sick of the like rules and boundaries of Christianity or whatever?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh my gosh. So first off, proving to yourself that magic is real is relatively easy because when you're in the craft, you're able to see a little bit more about the changes and the manifestations that you do. But being able to prove to somebody else that the craft is real,
Right.
that's a holy wow moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I was able to do a spicy love spell of sorts
Okay.
and prove to my partner at the time that it was actually working. And when I pulled out the little, satchel and showed it to him, he's like,
Yeah,
yeah.
I have also worked with love spells for myself and at the request of others. Very important distinction there, because we're not doing magic for people who don't request that. As well as prosperity spells, which I find tend to work better for women than men. Because we're feeling the reasons why we need the abundance, not the fact of, not like the logical fact of the lack of money in our life, right? We're
Right.
feeling the completeness or the expansion that would be created, or the love and caring that would be created by receiving that abundance. So the magic itself, the intention of the magic is a little more pure when it comes from that feminine energy place. But yeah, I think we've all had at least one moment where we were able to prove to ourselves and to others that there was more going on here than meets the eye, right?
Right.
And I'm just going to throw this out there for anyone who's new to the path. The very definition of magic is making extraordinary things happen using ordinary methods, right? So we're not doing anything that any one of you cannot also be doing. We're doing it with a little more intention. We're doing it with a little more faith, perhaps. And we are doing it instead of talking about it. But yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. All right.
Everybody can learn how to do magic. I mean, from my personal experience, we all do magic when we're children. And we've been told so many times, oh, that's not real. You don't see spirits. You don't, see fairies, or you don't do, make potions or this or that or the other when you, mix the shampoos together in the sink. I always used to do that.
Yes.
But we've been told that so many times growing up that we've kind of lost that ability. And part of getting back into magic as adults and studying these things is kind of opening the doorway back up that you innately had to begin with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Remembering who we are. My granddaughter is the feral child, my youngest one. But my daughter, 3 years ago or so, my daughter sends me a picture, and it's my granddaughter with a pile of leaves in the driveway, and she's got a stick. And she says, do you know what she's doing? And I said, what? And she said, making potions. I said, of course she is. That one is definitely my little witch in the making. She still lacks a little bit of the patience to like really get with the program, but we're getting there. And she's recently discovered Harry Potter, so they just had a Harry Potter themed birthday party. And so yeah, the door is opening for her to magical possibility, not related to me directly,
Awesome.
So yeah, initially when I told her I was a witch, she was like, no, you're not. And I said, yes, I am. No, she didn't like that idea, because all she could picture in her mind was like the Halloween costume, right?
Yeah.
Now she's gotten some exposure to what witches or magical beings may look like outside of the sort of Judeo-Christian Hollywood imagery, right? That's been so typical in the past.
I grew up watching The Wizard of Oz.
Yes, Absolutely.
I love the scene where Dorothy asks Glinda, "Are you a good witch or are you a bad witch?"
Yes.
You know, and it's the most awesome scene because up until that point, I was the same way. I thought that they were, you know, ugly with the nose and the green
Right.
skin and stuff like that. But seeing Glinda, it's like life goals.
Yeah, exactly. Well, not only that, but Glenda really doesn't answer her question. Are you a good witch or a bad witch? She doesn't tell her, yes, I'm a good witch, or yes, I'm a, she leaves it to interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good sort
Good
of
motto.
pictorial example of like light versus dark and good versus evil as like grander concepts in the human experience, right? But who's to say which one is? And I think that's what Wicked, the musical, comes around to, is like, who's to say which one is good or evil, and who really knows the journey that they've been on to get there.
Yes, absolutely. That book made me cry like a baby, by the way.
I know, right? I've been
Oh,
to see it a couple times. My daughter and I still go to Broadway shows together. It's one of our bonding activities as mother and daughter.
well,
So we've been
I
to see
got to
Wicked a couple, 3 times, and Rent a couple, 3 times. Like,
I got to see it at the Pantages Theater
lovely,
in
lovely.
California.
Yeah, very nice. All right. Well, is there anything that you want to talk about that we haven't covered already before we end your interview?
Um, I think we covered most everything.
I think
I
so.
mean, just kind of off the top.
Yeah.
I can't really think of anything.
All right. Okay. I know that Mary had a question that she asked, so I'm going to go in and pick that up. Let's see. Chat. There we go. Let me ask what gatekeeping is. Yeah. So there are a lot of instances where gatekeeping occurs. Typing in a password to get onto someone's website is a form of gatekeeping, right? When you are young, there are literal gatekeepers in your life and gates, usually like to keep you from falling down the stairs. In the spiritual world, a gatekeeper is someone who is ensuring the safety and stability of themselves and the community. And there are various ways that we go about that. One of those ways is simply by having a clear and open conversation with someone, and paying attention to their verbal responses as well as their body language, that those things which are unsaid, and any forms of energy that they may be expressing out into the world, and how that energy makes you feel. Does it make you feel constrictive or expansive in nature? And usually, even if you're not an empath of very high sensitivity, each one of us has a gut feeling or a radar that allows us to, it's like our creeper detector.
Intuition.
Yeah, exactly. So we're gatekeeping using our creeper detector to make sure that we don't let any creepers, negative energies, people who embrace isolation or hate or separation, or any of the various isms that seem to be so popular today. We are also acting as gatekeepers in the form of ceremonial facilitators. So when we call forth sacred energy into a sacred circle, we hold a ritual or ceremony for some reason, we as the high priestess or priest act as a gatekeeper in constructing our sacred temple between the worlds and drawing an energetic boundary that keeps all positivity and light inside the circle and all negative energies outside the circle. So the middle explanation was the one I was using here, but there are all sorts of forms of gatekeeping going on, some of which you may be aware of and some of which you may not be. So, so
Right.
yeah. if you do take on a role as a leader within your community, gatekeeping will be one of those things that's your responsibility, right? Making sure that everyone who joins in your circles or activities is wonderful, is protected, and felt that they are in a safe and loving environment in which to frankly let down their guard and allow us to affect the most tender part of themselves, which is their soul. As anyone who practices magic, at no matter what stage of the game you may be in, finding someone who is consciously in a role of love and non-judgment is crucial to your protection and expansion.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, Maria, but with my groups, I'm like a big mama hen.
Oh, absolutely.
Like you don't mess with my people.
Yeah, no, not at all. And you know, for a long time in Baba Yaga's various events and stuff, I have put it out there that I am a teaching coven. And so I may have an event where I have students of mine acting as high priest or priestess, acting as my quarter invokers, callers. And if they stumble, forget their lines, go to the wrong cardinal direction in the circle, we're not going to have a big fat fit about that or make them feel bad about that. Laughter is always the best medicine. Love is always the key, right?
Absolutely. I can't tell you how many times during ritual I've knocked over a candle and darn near had my altar blow up in smoke.
Yeah, I've actually, once I had my own flower arrangement catch on fire on the altar. And then I actually had a friend who left a small like bedside altar, the candle burning when they went to sleep, and it caught the wax. As the wax dripped, it caught the whole top of the altar on fire, and they had to pitch it into the yard to make sure it didn't burn the house down. So yeah, there's a reason why we should be offering examples of what to and what not to do in the craft, right?
Yeah.
We also had a comment in here from Gypsy Mayram.
Hi, Gypsy.
And she's wanting to know more about the initiate program. So Gypsy, please get a hold of Ashley, who is our initiate sponsor, and she will send you the application that you can fill out to be under consideration for Tamara's training. So that's awesome. All right. Last call for anyone who may have questions or comments that they would like to share before we wrap this up here.
I love questions. Don't be afraid.
Right, exactly. All right. It looks like maybe that's all we got for now.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all right. I'm sure people will reach out and you'll have plenty of opportunity to answer questions on the backside of this interview. Mary says she loves us both very much. We love you too, Mary.
Love you,
Mary. So in full disclosure, for those of you who may not know, I am currently the sitting crone on the elder board of the Temple of Roses and the Coven of Roses. I am acting as spiritual advisor to Tamara as she goes forward in forming her nonprofit spiritual organization. We are going to be holding some events this year, both as the Temple of Roses here in Dayton, Ohio, and then she and I are going to work in cooperation, Baba Yaga's Hut in association with the Temple of Roses, and we're going to try and get our two groups together. We would love to hear from your group. So here in Dayton, Ohio, there are lots of amazing groups out there, each one kind of doing their own thing. We would love to have a community event at some point this year, maybe further into the summer if we can get enough response from interested parties. So we'll just throw that into the mix of things you can comment on when you see this video. Tamara, thank you so much for being interviewed for the podcast today. You've been amazing.
You're so wonderful. I love you so much.
I love you too so much indeed. For now, that is going to do it for our interview for the day. Tamara, hang out just 1 second. For all of you in Facebook land, thank you so much for joining us. We send you many, many blessings, both now and when you view this broadcast in the future. May you always walk in love and light. And for all of you out there on the recording, thanks so much for watching. Be sure and tune in next week to Witchy Wednesdays, when my guest will be Elizabeth Whitaker. She's going to be on here telling us all about her programs and her soul mission. So definitely tune in for that. And then 2 weeks from now, it's going to be little old me. We're going to talk about spring equinox. That'll be on the 22nd of March and what seeds we are planting to grow this nice warm season. So until then, this is Maria Schell for Witchy Wednesdays at 1, saying I love you like mad. I'll see you next week. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Blessed be.